Welcome to Random Radio. I'm your host, David Bolander, and thank you guys so much for listening in. I know I didn't have an episode last week, but I'm hoping to make that up this week, and this very well could be the new Monday that is being posted on. But anyway, we have a special guest here today, Crockett Nilsson.
Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, no problem. And so he's a good friend of mine. I know him from school. He's a great guy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know that you had some stuff you wanted to talk about. Where would you like to start?
So I'd just like to start with talking about my experiences growing up gay and how that worked out, and then slowly move on to now and how I've changed, and how things are going now and what my future plans are. Okay. So like kind of like 3 stages: past, present, and future.
Yeah, nice. Go for it.
All right. Starting from a young age, I think I started realizing I was gay back when I was around 8 years old. But back then, I don't know, I was really shy, really nervous a lot. So I didn't really say anything about it. Kept it a secret for a long time. And it was kind of a bad zone, if you ask me, because like I kind of dealt with a lot because I had church and whatnot. And the church's teachings were that homosexuality was a sin.
Yeah, that's...
And so I was raised from a young age thinking I was a horrible person. And I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pretty crappy for me, honestly.
I bet. That sounds horrendous.
Yeah. And then around 12, I think, I started to like realize I got like really depressed. And I was like starting to have suicidal thoughts, which were bad, of course. And I got to a point where I was like, I can't take this anymore. So I was like, I came up with a solution. Okay, here's what I was saying to do. I was like, rather than killing myself, I was going to have my parents kill me for me.
Ooh.
So I was going to like, well, by doing that, I'll just come out to them and then they can kill me. Of course, that didn't go as I planned. And they're like, no, we're not going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what do I do with my life now? So, yeah, after that, I kind of just was like, oh, well, things are better now, at least than they were.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kept on just living, and then I was like, a few things went back to the way they were. I kind of went back into a little bit of hiding, not like I went back all the way into the closet, but like, they're like, you still have to go to church and whatnot, and so I still kept doing that.
Yeah.
In seminary, So I kept doing stuff like that, and then as I moved on to high school, slowly I started getting more out of my shell. Like I'd start to get more rainbow clothes or something and just, come out more. And then I think it was sophomore year, this year, junior year is the year I joined GSA, which is the club at our school. It stands for the Gay Straight Alliance or Gender and Sexuality Alliance. That's the newer title, but
nice.
More encompassing. And it kind of died. So like I kind of booted it up. I was like, I was like, it took me forever just to find the club. So I was like searching. I was like, I had to go. First I went to the counselor's office. I told them, I'm like, where's the GSA? They're like, you're going to need to go to a different office. So I went to that office. And they're like, go to this room. I go to this room, find the teacher. I'm like, they said the GSA is supposed to meet here. She's like, oh, yeah, that kind of died. I'm like, it did? I'm like, let's just like try and bring it back to life. So that's what I spent this year doing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mostly come back to life. We only have a few members, but
yeah, that's still something though.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable and I haven't explained how you actually found me. Well, we knew each other before, and you knew that I had a podcast, and you decided to find my podcast, find the episode that I said my email in, and email me through there. So so we know that you're persistent, definitely, when you want to get something done.
Yes, when I want to do something, I definitely yeah.
And that's a good thing for sure.
Definitely. And then let's see. So after that, I went through some more things, often dealing with a lot because still school can be a tough place, especially with it being such a small town.
Yeah, and with the entire town being like very hard set religious. And,
And it's just a lot. yeah, and there would just be a lot of times I'd still experience bullying. Even today, I still experience it a lot.
Yeah.
It can be a lot, but I've gotten more like not caring as much. I become more myself,
Yeah.
and now it's a lot better. Like just last month in June, I went to the Pride Parade for Idaho Falls. I didn't even
Oh.
know they had that until this year.
Huh. I didn't know they had that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I managed to convince my parents to let me go. They were skeptical at first, like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "I'm sure."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be a lot.
Yeah.
And I think for my present plans, future plans, I think I'm like just trying to meet more people, trying to help others, come out of their shells. Because I know it was hard for me. So,
Yeah.
like, I bet it would be really hard for others to also do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so some of the plans I have, I don't know. For my senior project, I'm doing a website for like helping people who may be struggling with suicidal thoughts too. Like,
Yeah.
that's what my senior project's gonna be. So
That's really cool. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like trying to like find other ways I can help people because I don't want other people to have to experience what I had to experience.
Yes. And that's honestly, that's kind of one of the reasons why I started the podcast was because I'm like, hey, I know for a fact I'm not the only one who is getting really annoyed with everything or is just feeling like nobody really understands. And I know what that brought for me when I was younger and when I had depression.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that brought for me, and I'm like, I don't want other people to go through that. I'm going to tell them now, like, hey, these are some of the skills that I learned to deal with it. Here's some of the things that I learned that you just kind of have to accept. Here's some tips and tricks, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's really cool that you're doing something that will help spread that a bit more.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, there's a whole nother side of it. Like the whole part with being in a small town community, it can also be hard. Like finding people to date. Like I see people going to dances and whatnot, and it can be pretty lonely, even now. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like just a whole thing.
Yeah.
But overall, I'd say I've done pretty well managing it.
That's good, yeah. And you think things are looking up a little bit?
I think so, yeah.
Nice. Very nice, yeah. And do you have any major future plans on what you're going to continue doing?
I think, I don't know. I think maybe like more talks like this or like just, I don't know, speeches of some sort. I feel like that would help me more, like to verbalize and just put it out there. Because I know there are other people out there who could definitely use something like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, as I said, this is why I started a podcast, is so that even if I only get 10 people to listen to this thing on a regular basis, then that's fine by me, as long as somebody is listening to the fact that I am trying to help people, right?
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe someday I'll reach a much wider audience, so even 1,000.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But I mean, like, just the little steps. Like, first off, I started off literally just, like, in speech class my sophomore year, that was the first time I thought about doing a podcast, because one of our assignments was to start a podcast, and one of my friends who was in that class, he said, hey, you have a really good podcast voice. Why don't you do it? And normally I would just say no. But I had been in a little bit of a rut at the time, and I was just kind of like, you know what, why not? Let's just do it. And so then I did it. It was my first episode, and I was like, that's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
And then I got comments on, like, the 5th episode, I think, was my first comment or something. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, oh, people actually care about this, right? And so, like, not only did it help me spread the word about stuff, but it also helped me realize, it helped me come out of my shell of it. It helped me be more confident, because it's like, yeah, you're talking to potentially hundreds of thousands of people, but in reality, then you can just either you can narrow it down to just you're talking to a microphone, or to the person you're sitting in front of, or you can just say, well, this is what I'm saying, and I can edit it if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very poorly worded in the message I was trying to send there, but
it's all good. Yeah, and actually, well, there's one more comment I'll make. It's just that for those of you who aren't gay, but this is just for like people out there, we could really use support. This is just a thing. Like, there's a lot of us who struggle coming out, and we just don't feel acceptance, especially with like small town schools like this. Yeah. Because there's a lot of bullying that goes on. So even if you aren't gay, you can probably like help us just deal with that, or just at least be accepting and kind to people who are gay.
Yeah.
Or other things. So, like,
Yeah, trying to be accepting
Yeah.
through any differences.
Yeah.
Or through
Yeah.
differences generally.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm sure there are a whole bunch of people I don't know about at the school now that we've gotten, double capacity that we're supposed to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll definitely try to work on that myself because it's something I don't usually think about. And I'm sure that I am a terrible person most of the time in that sense.
I doubt it. It's just that sometimes people don't think about it. So this can be a good way to spread the word so people can notice something. Like maybe they just haven't even thought about it before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, something I've noticed around here just with the people I know personally, like especially my family, and they're like, what we usually view as reality, especially in stuff like this, where it's like we don't really know anybody who came out as gay or anything.
Yeah.
And so then the only thing we end up hearing is the news.
Oh yeah, and that's a very bad source to get your information from. That's how we get stereotypes spreading. And,
I'm sure that's terrible, especially what the news is now saying or whatever. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, we've talked about on the channel acceptance before, and I mean, acceptance is it's a very important thing that needs to happen, especially if we want to move forward, because it's like because what I've noticed is that like over the past 150 or 100 years, then people have been coming out more and more out of their shells, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd even say that started with the American Revolution. People were like, hey, I don't like the fact that Britain is making us pay for 100% of the war that they were planning on fighting.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And so then we rebelled and we won. And then we realized, the worker is allowed to stand up for himself. And then during the Industrial Revolution, workers were being very suppressed and had terrible treatment. And then we say, the workers feel differently, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're broadening what we can see, right?
And it's definitely an upward battle, because like every day it's like a struggle. You're like, some days you're just like, I'm gonna power through. I can do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, even just like between you and me, at school I'm a shy kid. I don't talk a whole lot to much of anybody. I just try to get from point A to point B, do the classes, point C to point D, and that's what people at school see. And then what people are now starting to see from me is that, hey, he's actually kind of confident and he actually has ideas.
and that's like a good thing, I think. Like just with people in general, like when they can finally realize, oh, I'm comfortable with the way I am, and they can just like feel comfortable sharing that with people. Like, I feel like it's a very powerful thing.
It definitely is, yeah, and it makes everybody happier. If everybody is okay with the way they personally are, I've noticed that it's made a heck of a difference in my life, even.
Yeah.
Right? Like starting the podcast, going to therapy for whatever reason, then it's just like, hey, I had the introspection to realize I'm not doing okay, and that just came from me realizing this is who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like I noticed that when I get angry, I start to shake like a whole lot, and then that helped me keep my temper down. So when I see myself shaking a whole bunch, either I'm super nervous, but if there's not a good reason to be nervous, I'm probably angry and I need to start calming down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just like one of those things like that you can realize how you're feeling and you can know what that means to you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people could learn a lot from that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know lots of people who could definitely benefit from knowing themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, then we'll close this off here. And there is nothing that you wanted to support or anything other than
just love everyone.
Yes.
Acceptance for all.
Yes. Love everyone. Good acceptance. Yes. Let's stay on top of that, or try to keep on top of that, or even try to get on top of that, because I'm not sure how well people are doing with that yet. But anyway, I'm David Bolander. We are here with Crockett Nilsson, and you guys are listening to Random Radio. Thank you for listening.